No one is coming to rescue you. Not your friends, not your partner, not your parents, and not society. The life you live right now is largely the result of the standards you accept, the fears you tolerate, and the excuses you repeat to yourself. That may sound harsh, but it is also empowering. Because if your suffering is not entirely caused by the world, then it means you have more control than you think. Stoic philosophy forces us to confront uncomfortable realities about ourselves and about life. These truths sting at first. They challenge your ego. They shake your illusions. But once you accept them, they remove the chains that keep you stuck. Today, we are diving deep into 7 harsh Stoic truths that hurt to hear, but ultimately set you free. Stoicism is not about suppressing emotion or pretending that pain does not exist. It is about seeing reality clearly without adding unnecessary suffering to it. It is about understanding that life is unpredictable, people are imperfect, and circumstances are unstable, yet you still have the power to choose your character. The Stoics believed that peace does not come from controlling the outside world, but from mastering your inner world. These lessons are not comfortable. They demand maturity. They demand responsibility. But if you truly absorb them, they will transform how you experience every challenge, every loss, and every success. Let us begin. You are not special. The world does not revolve around you, and it does not rearrange itself to match your expectations. It does not owe you recognition for your effort, nor does it reward you simply because you tried your best. Wanting something badly does not make you entitled to it. Many people quietly believe they deserve success, love, wealth, or influence just because they desire it deeply, or because they see potential within themselves. But potential means nothing without execution, and desire means nothing without disciplined action. The universe operates on cause and effect, not on personal preference. Results come from skill, consistency, timing, adaptability, and resilience, not from wishful thinking. This truth can feel uncomfortable because it challenges the ego. It forces you to confront the idea that you are not uniquely chosen, not secretly destined for greatness without effort, and not exempt from competition or failure. But this realization is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to ground you. The moment you accept that you are not automatically special is the moment you stop waiting to be discovered and start building yourself into someone worth noticing. You stop asking why opportunities are not coming your way and start asking what you can improve. You begin analyzing your habits, your skills, your discipline, your mindset, and your consistency. When you remove the illusion of entitlement, you gain control. If nothing is owed to you, then everything you achieve is earned. That mindset replaces frustration with responsibility. Instead of blaming the world, you evaluate your preparation. Instead of comparing yourself emotionally to others, you study what they are doing differently. Instead of assuming you deserve more, you work until your value becomes undeniable. Being not special is not an insult, it's a starting point. It means the same rules apply to you as everyone else. It means improvement is possible because growth follows effort. It means progress is within your control if you are willing to pay the price for it. True power comes from humility combined with action. When you let go of the need to feel exceptional, you free yourself to become exceptional through discipline. You trade ego for execution. You replace fantasy with focus. And in that shift, you stop hoping for a breakthrough and start creating one. You control less than you think. You cannot control how others interpret your words, how they judge your character, or whether they decide to stay in your life. You cannot control market crashes, betrayals, accidents, illness, or timing. No amount of overthinking can secure loyalty, guarantee outcomes, or prevent uncertainty. Yet much of your stress comes from attempting to manage precisely these uncontrollable variables. You replay conversations in your head, try to predict every possible scenario, and exhaust yourself trying to shape how others see you. But perception is filtered through their experiences, not your intentions. The Stoics understood this clearly. They divided life into two simple categories: what is within your control and what is not. Within your control are your thoughts, your choices, your effort, your discipline, and your values. Outside of it lies everything else: other people's opinions, external events, outcomes, and circumstances. The harsh truth is that most of what you worry about falls into the second category. You cannot force respect. You cannot guarantee success. You cannot eliminate uncertainty from existence. But there is freedom in this realization. When you accept that you were never meant to control everything, you stop fighting reality. You stop draining your energy trying to bend the world to your will. Instead, you redirect that energy inward toward mastery of your response. You focus on acting with integrity even when misunderstood. You commit to effort even when results are delayed. You maintain composure even when circumstances shift unexpectedly. Peace does not come from controlling life. It comes from controlling your reaction to life. Once you release the illusion of external control, anxiety loosens its grip. You conserve your strength for what truly belongs to you: your mindset, your behavior, and your standards. And in doing so, you discover that while you cannot command the world, you can command yourself. And that is more than enough.
People will disappoint you. Even those you trust deeply, admire greatly, or depend on heavily will sometimes fail to meet your expectations. They may misunderstand your intentions, forget promises, act selfishly, drift away, or change in ways you never anticipated. Some will hurt you unintentionally. Others will hurt you because they are acting from fear, insecurity, or weakness. No relationship is immune to human imperfection. The mistake is not that people disappoint you. The mistake is expecting them not to. When you expect constant loyalty, flawless communication, or unwavering consistency from flawed human beings, you set yourself up for resentment. Every person operates from their current level of awareness, emotional maturity, stress, and character. The Stoics recognize this clearly. People act according to what they believe is right or necessary in that moment, even when it is misguided. Their behavior reflects their limitations, not your value. This does not mean you excuse harmful behavior or tolerate disrespect. Boundaries are necessary. Self-respect is non-negotiable. But there is a difference between maintaining standards and clinging to unrealistic expectations. When you assume people must always respond exactly as you would, you create unnecessary suffering for yourself. You try to control personalities that were never yours to control. Acceptance creates stability. When you understand that imperfection is part of the human condition, disappointment becomes less shocking and less personal. You begin to evaluate people realistically rather than idealistically. You appreciate consistency when it appears, but you are not shattered when it falters. You learn to rely on your own character more than on others' promises. Emotional strength comes from lowering expectations of perfection while raising standards for yourself. When you stop demanding that others behave flawlessly, resentment softens. You respond with clarity instead of impulse, and in that space, you gain something far more valuable than guaranteed loyalty: inner steadiness. Comfort is the enemy of growth because comfort signals safety, and your brain is wired to prioritize safety over expansion. It wants predictability, ease, and familiarity. It prefers routines that require minimal effort and decisions that carry minimal risk. In the short term, comfort feels good. It reduces stress and protects your ego from failure. But over time, it quietly shrinks your potential. Muscles that are never challenged weaken. Skills that are never stretched stagnate. Confidence that is never tested becomes fragile. Look back at the moments that shaped you. They were likely uncomfortable. Difficult conversations that forced honesty, failures that exposed your weaknesses, risks that made your heart race. periods of uncertainty that demanded adaptation. Growth rarely announces itself gently. It usually arrives disguised as pressure, embarrassment, effort, or temporary pain. The very experiences you try to avoid are often the ones that forge resilience. The Stoics understood this deeply. They practiced voluntary hardship not to punish themselves, but to train their minds. By fasting, embracing simplicity, or enduring physical discomfort, they reduced their fear of losing comfort. They proved to themselves that they could survive difficulty. When real hardship arrived, it felt familiar rather than catastrophic. They built strength before they needed it. If you constantly choose what is easy, you slowly lower your threshold for stress. Minor challenges begin to feel overwhelming because you have not trained yourself to endure strain. Avoiding discomfort does not protect you, it makes you more sensitive. The harsh truth is that comfort can become a subtle trap. It convinces you that staying where you are is safer than risking growth. But stagnation carries its own cost, regret, unrealized potential, and a quiet awareness that you could have done more. When you deliberately step into difficulty, something shifts. Each challenge expands your capacity. Each uncomfortable action builds evidence that you can handle more than you thought. You develop discipline, adaptability, and emotional control. Discomfort stops being a threat and starts becoming a tool. And in that process, you discover that strength is not something you are born with, it is something you build every time you choose growth over ease. You will die. It is one of the simplest truths and one of the most avoided. Your time here is temporary, limited, and quietly decreasing with every passing day. No matter your status, intelligence, wealth, or influence, you are moving to the same destination as everyone who came before you. Yet most people live as if life is renewable. They postpone meaningful goals, delay difficult conversations, and assume there will always be more time to fix, to start, to say what needs to be said. This illusion of endless tomorrows creates complacency. It makes procrastination feel harmless. It makes wasted days seem insignificant. But when you truly understand that your days are numbered, time changes value. Ordinary moments become finite resources. You become more aware of how casually you spend hours on distractions, grudges, and trivial concerns. The Stoics practiced memento mori, remember that you must die, not as a morbid obsession, but as a daily reminder of perspective. Death was not meant to create panic, it was meant to sharpen focus. When you remember your mortality, petty arguments shrink, ego battles feel pointless, the need to impress strangers fades. You begin to ask deeper questions. If my time is limited, what deserves my attention? If today were repeated as the pattern of my life, would I be satisfied? Awareness of death clarifies priorities. It pushes you towards integrity, because reputation will not follow you beyond the grave, but character defines how you live now. It strengthens relationships because you recognize that every goodbye could be the last. It motivates action because someday later will run out. Accepting mortality does not darken life, it intensifies it. It encourages gratitude for simple experiences, a conversation, a sunrise, progress made through effort. It reminds you that hesitation carries a cost. You do not control how long you live, but you influence how deliberately you live. When you stop pretending you are permanent, you start living with urgency, presence, and intention. And in that awareness, life becomes sharper, richer, and far more meaningful.
Your thoughts shape your experience. Life does not happen to you in isolation, it is filtered through your mind. Two people can face the exact same setback, yet emerge with entirely different interpretations. One sees catastrophe, loss, or injustice. The other sees a lesson, an opportunity, or a chance to grow. The events themselves are neutral. Meaning is assigned by thought. Stoics understood this clearly. Suffering is often created not by what happens, but by how we judge what happens. The stories we tell ourselves about people, circumstances, or the world determine whether life feels chaotic or manageable, light or heavy. Most of the pain we feel is self-inflicted. When you label every inconvenience as unfair, every mistake as permanent, or every challenge as a personal attack, your mind constructs suffering where none inherently exists. Your thoughts magnify obstacles, exaggerate losses, and replay fears endlessly, making life heavier than it needs to be. Yet the liberating truth is that these thoughts are not immutable. They are patterns you can recognize, question, and reshape. You can observe your judgments without automatically accepting them as reality. By training your mind to reinterpret events, you transform your experience. Setbacks become practice for patience, courage, and resilience. Criticism becomes feedback, not a personal attack. Discomfort becomes a teacher rather than a tormentor. Every moment holds potential for growth once you stop being a passive recipient of life and start actively shaping your perception. The harsh truth is that your suffering is your own creation, but the liberating truth is that you are also its primary architect. With awareness, discipline, and practice, you can choose thoughts that reduce pain, increase clarity, and empower action. Your inner life becomes the foundation upon which all external experiences are built. No one is responsible for your happiness. It is easy to fall into the trap of believing that joy will come when someone loves you enough, when your bank account reaches a certain number, or when life finally works out. But all external sources of happiness are fragile. Relationships shift, people change, wealth rises and falls, and status fades. If you tie your contentment to these shifting factors, your peace will always be precarious, dependent on forces beyond your control. Stoicism teaches that true fulfillment comes from living in accordance with virtue, acting with integrity, courage, and self-discipline, regardless of circumstances. Happiness is not something to be handed to you, it is something to be cultivated from within. No one else can give you genuine contentment, and expecting them to do so only sets you up for frustration. The harsh truth is that your happiness is your responsibility. The liberating truth is that you do not need anyone's permission or approval to achieve it. By focusing on your choices, your values, and your actions, you take control of the only realm that is truly yours, your inner life. When you stop waiting for external conditions to align and start building peace from within, you discover a stability that no circumstance can shake, and a freedom that no one can take away. Which of these Stoic truths challenged you the most? Was it the reminder that you are not special, that comfort holds you back, or that your thoughts shape your reality? How do you plan to apply it in your own life? Share your reflections in the comments below. Let's start a meaningful discussion and learn from each other's perspectives. If this message resonated with you and you want more powerful insights on Stoic philosophy, self-discipline, and mental strength, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Join a community of growth-minded individuals committed to becoming stronger, wiser, and more resilient every single day.